how do you sum up one of the most influential hip-hop albums ever made in one image? Madvillainy is considered a classic of underground hip-hop and one of the greatest albums ever made. From MF Doom's dense lyricism to Madlib's stellar production, there are countless lists, articles, and YouTube video essays about why it is so revered in pop culture, as well as videos of people listening to the album for the very first time. However, nobody really focuses on the cover. It's one that a lot of people recognize even though they've never listened to the album. We're going to look at why this cover connects together King Crimson, Madonna, and Marvel Comics to Doritos, Cheetos, and Fritos. Slip like 40 in your first and last step to playing yourself like a... The album cover was designed by Jeff Jank, art director at Stone's Throw Records. His intention for the record was set out clearly in an interview he did with Brent Rollins, published on December 11, 2011. Quote, "Back then, 2003, Doom didn't really have a public image. Hip-hop heads knew he wore a mask that he'd been in KMD a decade earlier, but he really was a mystery. So I really wanted to get a shot of him on the cover just to make a definitive Doom cover. Specifically, I was thinking of a picture of this man who happened to wear a mask for some reason, as opposed to a picture of a mask." End quote. While Doom and Madlib were working on the album, photographer Eric Coleman took a striking image of Doom and gave it to Jank, who made it black and white. Jank's initial point of reference was the cover to the famous progressive rock record In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson, saying that the cover scared him as a child rummaging through his father's old vinyl collection. Quote, "I hope this picture of a guy with a metal mask will do the same to some other 5-year-old somewhere." End quote. But as Jank was working on the cover, he realized something else. The photograph looked a lot like Madonna's self-titled. Quote, "Another thing, just a sort of little inside joke of mine, was that the black and white photo of Doom reminded me in some way of the first Madonna album cover, just her in black and white, instead of Madonna and the O was orange. I saw the two pictures side by side and laughed at it like it was some rap version of Beauty and the Beast. So I put a little piece of orange up in the corner, partly because it needed something distinctive, and partly to match the color with Madonna." End quote. So why does it matter that Jank took inspiration from King Crimson and Madonna? In my view, it speaks to hip-hop as a genre built on taking old material and reusing it to create something new. It speaks to the ethics of sampling. It's these little influences and comparisons that build such a defining image. The supervillain mask that Doom wears, the striking black and white resemblance to Madonna, and the directness of King Crimson. The prologue to the book, Channels of Desire, call it In the Shadow of the Image, written by Elizabeth and Stuart Ewan, the cover is part of a long history of new and old coming together to create a new image. Quote, "This history that unites the seemingly random routines of daily life is one that embraces the rise of an industrial, consumer society. It involves explosive interactions between modernity and old ways of life. It includes the proliferation, for years and decades, of a wide, repeatable vernacular of commercial images and ideas." End quote. Some of the influences that Jank had gained until this point coalesced into one final cover piece, one definitive Doom cover that defined a generation of up-and-coming musicians. It touched many a listener's heart, and it gave us something to reflect on when the subject himself was gone. In 2015, Marvel Comics released varying covers for their comics, based off of famous album covers. For the Mighty Thor #1, the cover featured a striking black and white image featuring the hero, with a little orange square in the top right corner, restarting the cycle of inspiration and proliferation. Through Coleman's photography and Jank's design, Doom lives on.